We're doing this case study to share learning with our colleagues across the country working in other local development companies, as well as trying to understand what it is we do when we talk about community development and supporting social enterprises. A social enterprise is an enterprise, the same as any in the commercial or in the private sector, that either provides goods or services. It has a voluntary board of directors. Sometimes there's staff employed, sometimes not, but they provide social services or some kind of social good, social impact for the local communities in which they are based.
Killala Community Centre as a social enterprise is very active, very busy centre here. We have lots of services to the community. Our focus really is on rural isolation and services to the elderly. So we have a Meals on Wheels service, we have a community transport, so a rural transport bus that services the community, brings people to lots of lovely activities like bingo and daycare centres, things like that. Then we have some facilities within the centre. There's a squash court, we have a wonderful sports hall, so we have lots of activities going on in there. The local GA clubs, things like that, would use it in the winter months.
We also have then others that provide social employment, such as Dolman Rainbow Cleaners, Boy Innovations and Ballina Costume Company.
We design and make costumes for hire and plays and musicals. We run children's camps during school holidays. We try and use upcycle stuff and recycle stuff, that there's not a cost involved. We do adults classes, exactly like you saw here today.
We've been working with and supporting social enterprises for quite a number of years. There is an ongoing need for these social enterprises to be able to develop additional income streams or expand on existing income streams so that they can become more sustainable into the future. The supports that we give from the Social Inclusion Community Activation Programme is the diverse nature of activities that are provided by these social enterprises. And it is very much so a case of one size doesn't fit all. Each group is unique and needs a specific set of supports. So we do that on a one-to-one basis.
Mayo North East provide a lot of support to us, so in terms of staff training, they would identify any gaps that we would have here within the staff, within the centre. So for example, our administrator required some training around payroll, so Mayo North East funded a course for that, so that's been a fantastic asset for us here. Then in terms of governance, particularly around the Charities Governance Code, we've had so much support in relation to that, just to make sure that we are being compliant with all the necessary standards. Then also in terms of the completion of our annual report to the charities regulator, there's a lady has been employed now by Mayo North East, and she's been helping us with that and also on our compliance journey. So just guiding us, setting up working groups that we can kind of bounce ideas off one another and just make sure everybody is on the right track.
Without the SIDECAP programme initiative supporting us, I mean, we wouldn't be here for starters today. To be able to run these classes alone, we need certificates in so many things. Without SIDECAP supporting us, we wouldn't have been in a position to do them. It wouldn't be another income stream for us. The likes of our governance and keeping all our policies and procedures and things, I'm not qualified for doing that. Like, without that support, I certainly wouldn't be where I am today. I don't think the costume company would. We don't have that knowledge.
Without Mayo North East support, we would really be so isolated in our governance journey alone, but just in general, because it's really like a springboard for us, and it's kind of that link between us and the department.
I had training in marketing and social media and doing it, so I mean that allowed me to know the way how to use social media to our advantage, to market, the best way to market, ideas we would never have thought of. We're in the process of, actually probably next week now, the end of this week or next week, we will be launching our website. And again, that was through the help and support of SICAP and Mayo North East. We're just after doing, myself and 2 other staff members is just after doing Train the Trainer level 6 QQI, and I mean that's huge. That's absolutely. I never had a certificate like that in my life. I mean I left school and I went straight to work, so I certainly had nothing like that before. So it was the excitement of actually knowing I could do it.
Through Mayo North East, we've become a little bit more active on social media. We've become involved with the Irish Social Enterprise Network. They host a Twitter hour every Wednesday night at 9 p.m. and that is just fantastic. You have open access straight away nationally to the social enterprises who, just like us, are on this same journey. So there's really invaluable advice offered on that Twitter hour. There's lots of interaction. We get asked questions that challenge us, things that we may not actually have considered before. So really Mayo North East have opened up this wider network of support and advice for us through SICAP.
Collaboration is a word that is often used in relation to the community and voluntary sector. It's about working together so that we can achieve the best possible outcomes. During the COVID crisis, it was an essential way of working, and we worked very, very closely with the Mayo County Council in order to provide the responses that were required to the groups that were really managing a crisis at a very local level at the time.
We initially set up a COVID-19 helpline, where people called in and we effectively signposted them to a place where they could find help. So groups that hadn't the funding really to respond in terms of, let's say, PPE. Let's take a Meals on Wheels group. So they effectively found themselves oversubscribed, if you like. So where they might have had 30 people in the area supplying, now they might have had 80. And so there was an issue around maybe the food boxes. There was an issue around PPE. So where we collaborated in this instance with Mayo North East was we set up together so that we'd both fund them, and Mayo North East funded the food boxes through the SICAP programme, and we, through the COVID-19 emergency funding, we funded the PPE and elements like that for the group. So effectively it was a holistic approach, and we were able to work really quickly towards the goal of getting people looked after on the ground and in our communities.
COVID was interesting here because while lots of other services were closing down, our service actually started to multiply. So Mayo North East were just unbelievable around that time, because while we were kind of, I suppose our heads were running and racing, they were really focused and really guided us into getting an action plan into place so that we could have a contingency plan in place if and when one of our staff contracted COVID. And thankfully nobody did, and we've been able to keep the service really safe and really viable for the community. So during COVID, I rang up Anne Finn at one stage in Mayo North East, because with all the new guidelines, there was a concern for us for sending plates out into the community, which then would be coming back into the centre, and there was such a risk of cross-contamination. So we had looked into getting a portable oven that would be transported in the van, and with this came biodegradable meal trays. But with that came a very expensive bill. So we had secured some funding for the oven, but we were falling short for the cost of the trays going forward. So after speaking to Anne, she informed me of some funding that was available through SICAP, and we linked in, we put our application in, and thankfully we were successful. So really, SICAP have made our service delivery safer and more accessible for the members of our community.
The media kept telling us about the lack of PPE for the frontline workers, so we said we couldn't possibly continue making the costumes while this need was there. We knew we weren't financially in a position to make it. I didn't know how we would be about setting up some kind of fundraiser, because we're not a charity. I didn't know that. So this then is when I made the call to Mayo North East, to yourself, Anne. And as you know, within asked you, done it, and an hour later, like back with it all set up and all done. Mayo North East, as you know yourself, that you were on the phone to us continuously in delivering. You organised the Meals on Wheels groups to get the PPE and doing it. You oversaw all that, because I mean that took it out of our hand. We knew people needed it, but how do we get about getting it to the people that did need it?
We encourage, we facilitate, we support social enterprises to work collaboratively because we believe that together they're stronger. When done right, collaborative working results in better outcomes for the communities which we support and for the individuals that we support.